Hope I'm not overdoing it with the Betamax, but, well, I just got this machine working again, and it's hard to say how much time I have left before this thing will not work again. So, I want to put a lot on Betamax. And on top of that, the pun, shall we say, of showing beta elements of the Spy Who Loved Me 64 on Betamax just seemed a little too perfect. So, what I'm attempting to show right now is the oldest build that we have. So, a while ago we had a drive that had all the old builds on it. Unfortunately, the drive got corrupted, and aside from a few files here and there, a few things got lost. So what I'm showing here is the oldest build that is currently available, that I actually have on a drive to be able to show you. This is labeled Build 13. Now you may notice that there's no sound in this video. The main reason for that is, well, it's very distorted, and I don't want to subject you to this sort of analog horror vibe that this sets up. So think about this more as kind of like a director's commentary, I guess. So, as you can see, it's pretty early on into the build. The idea that it still says GoldenEye, that you even get the old Roger Moore picture. But I also find it interesting that there's still the blue outline around the outside. I would have figured maybe it was still the original tan. None of the pictures have been replaced because, well, I didn't really know how to do that quite yet. But after a little bit of savvy, I was able to just kind of put in a few placeholders. So this is a very early build of level 2, but since you really can't see it, this is really just kind of a showcase of the weapons themselves. Now I just wanted to point out the Astera 902 here. The idea that it's fully automatic. That's what the original plan was, but well, it was because of this level that we realized that the guards with a fully automatic pistol was just way too powerful for the average player to be able to handle, so we made it semi-automatic instead. Sterling looks a little different, but still not as crazy as the alpha build that I showed on this channel earlier. The M16 is slightly different. You'll see that it's still the original RCP-90. I believe it was... maybe best not reveal their name, but it wasn't until much later that they came in and took care of the HK for the Skyfall level. You'll also notice that a few weapons back, the double-barrel shotgun has the full-length barrel. The main reason we decided to make it more sawed-off is so it could fit inside the watch menu better, but also it very much fits with the bonus level, as that scene in the movie it's based off of involved a sawed-off side-by-side shotgun. So this is what would eventually become Sheikh Hussein's tent. Very basic. And that's about all there is to show on that build. There is the first level before that, but I've showed that off in another video, so really the next thing that I want to show right now is the original build for the club. Or if any of you want to know what number that is level 5. Now you'll notice that this is a fair ways further in. In fact, I want to say it would be roughly build 48 or 49, so you'll notice that the opening credits were different. You'll even notice that the opening gun barrel is a little different as well, and we have Sir Roger Moore in the barrel this time. And look at that, we even have the picture rather than the original GoldenEye. So the opening credits, these were the old opening credits, so they go on for a lot longer than was anticipated. I'm not necessarily sure how that happened, but I do know that it went on for so long, I'm like, we should probably just save that for the end credits, so we truncated it. Because I'm not really sure if we really need to know the barrel owner of, oh dang, I completely missed if we actually gave him a name or not, but if memory serves me correctly, that same actor also made a cameo appearance in License to Kill, which isn't the first time that The Spy Who Loved Me and License to Kill has got a connection. For instance, the one line in the train where Felix is saying, "Watch out for sharks," that was a reference to the secretary being eaten, not the reference that Felix was being eaten both in the book Live and Let Die as well as License to Kill. So here we are. This is the original build of the club. This one was by TJ Fly, and if you're not sure who that is, he was the one that would eventually create his own mod project, Tomorrow Never Dies 64. This was quite a few years ago, but from my understanding, he wanted to work on that project as a means to try to hone in the skills to be able to create levels. As you can see, this one is very basic with paper-thin walls as well as a single floor. And I remember TJ Fly really just wanted to figure out how to give levels a little more depth. And okay, so you'll notice that that was a very early build. There was just cars in the parking lot, different props and whatnot, but there wasn't really anything going on. So this next build is what I'm calling the, shall we say, definitive edition of the first build of the club. So you see, we actually have a proper picture this time rather than a hand-drawn illustration. We got opening cutscenes, we got characters in their proper place, and, well, I do remember that we had these two guards that would just immediately start shooting the player at the start. However, I think we were able to fix that, either that or go to a different build. And you'll notice that these tannish yellowish cars, I'm not sure if we have an equivalent for that in the more modern builds or whatnot. I do know that we have this very sleek black car, which I personally like to think is Felix's Studilac from the James Bond books, as I'm not really sure what that car is based off of. So on the inside we got a few guards to contend with. For the first little while in this level, we just figured we'd have armed guards that would just kind of randomly attack, basically saying, okay, these are Jaws' henchmen after you. However, oh, there's the book that shares the same title. We realized that it didn't really work so well to just kind of have guns blazing with all these civilians around and having them not react to anything. So we figured it would just make more sense to have it that there would just be a shootout at the very end of the level. And this was definitely at a time in the project where I slavishly wanted to make sure that the dialogue fits from the movie, but at the same time I did want to kind of cut it up a little bit, as I knew that the player did not want to sit through walls of text. And so it's, well, I hope it's interesting kind of seeing the evolution of some of these things. We even have the dancers here as well. And in the back you'll notice that there's no kitchen or wet floor sign, but instead we have more rooms in the back that have a few extra guards here and there. I'm not really sure if this is necessarily a feature that was for the best that got cut or if something was missing, but then again, the newest build of the club, so it's 2 floors, and you can see the first floor from the second floor, and that kind of puts a bit of a performance hit. So a lot of tables and a lot of people had to be moved around in order to actually get the level to function at a halfway stable frame rate. Now if you're playing it on emulation it would work just fine, but that was always the big thing after playing Goldfinger 64 on console and some levels just being very difficult to go through. The main idea was to figure out how to make this project console first. In fact, that was always be a big thing whenever people would ask questions like, hey, can we add this feature into a level? Can we add that or whatnot? The main thing I would always tell them is, can it run on console? If so, then go for it. In fact, that kind of runs into probably one of the biggest controversies we had with the project is there were a few people that wanted it to be in a higher resolution, but for me, a person that's not really a PC gamer, resolution was not really that big of a deal for me. Especially since the little bump in resolution I did not think really made up for the dip in performance. However, we still have this remnant of the game as if you hold the L button before you start a level, then you can play it in widescreen. So yes, that's basically all I have to show in terms of beta elements. I thankfully made them in other videos already. And I hope that this will give a little bit of a taste of what's to come. I apologize that things have been a little slow, but well, we're not in COVID anymore, so we had to all of a sudden resume our lives again, and free time is just something we don't have that much anymore. But don't worry, the project is still being worked on. Until next time, keep having fun. How do you like my machine drum on desktop?